Hello, one and all. Welcome back to yet another edition of the AGPC, Average Guy's Guide to Life podcast. Fuckos and fuckettes. You know who I am, you know what this is. If you don't, then maybe I should stop saying that. I think I will eventually. Today is going to be my review of UFC 259, the pay-per-view that just happened. Anyone that is a regular listener of this podcast knows that I am a huge fan of mixed martial arts, huge fan of most sports in general, but I think it would be football 1 and MMA 2 if I were judging it on a personal scale for myself right now. MMA is creeping up the list, though. I must say that. MMA has more events. It's usually on Saturdays. If there's a Saturday where I don't see a mixed martial arts fight as far as UFC is concerned, feels like my Saturday is empty. It's empty. Whereas football, it's like a special event. It's a time of year, football season. So I think longing for football is what makes it number one on my list. It's not overly saturated. You don't get punched in the face with football every weekend, even though I wouldn't mind that either. So if you are not a fan of the arts, and no, Meryl Streep, I do not mean people pretending to act, or not pretending to act, they're acting. Oh my God, that's like some 4D, 5D chess shit. You're pretending to act. Holy shit. No, I mean people that play dress up and pretend that there are other people. For those of you who don't know what I mean when I make that statement, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, she gave an acceptance speech, or she was presenting something, and she was like, you know, the world needs the arts, and by the arts I don't mean mixed martial arts, or mixed martial arts aren't the arts, or some shit. It's like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? It's in the name. Mixed martial arts. It's an art form. It's a fucking art form. Did anyone come and tell you that playing a fucking 15th century wizard or some shit, whatever the fuck you do? I've never seen any of your movies. But anybody ever tell you that playing dress up with a powdered wig, that's not the arts? Anybody ever tell you that? Yeah? How you just gonna disrespect the whole class and a whole fucking career path? How dare you? How fucking dare you, you old bitch? How about you get in the ring with somebody and did try to move around and do your little dance or whatever. Or maybe you go in there with your powdered wig and your 15th century dress and try to fight Amanda Nunes and tell her it's not the arts while she's kicking you in the fucking head. Anyway, yeah, so mixed martial arts is the arts as far as I'm concerned. Like, talking, a specific form of speaking is the arts. Us using our voice to just relay information can be art. Poetry, lyrics, that's art, right? The way that you design your house, interior designers, that's art, right? The way that you design your food, you know, dancing. And all mixed martial arts is a dance, but it's a dance with dire consequences. It's a very complex dance. You can come to a violent end if you do not know the moves, you know, if you're not well choreographed. And sometimes you could just be gifted as fuck, very talented, you know. You could be a prodigy like BJ Penn or some shit. And you can get by on your physical attributes and talent alone without having to know the specific moves or dances, you know, even though mixed martial arts isn't a dance. That's more like wrestling. It's not ballet, as Taz would say. But it's not a dance, but that's the only way that I could put it to novice. It's like you're watching two people out there conducting a violent dance. And some people have their own motions. They have their own moves. We're going to get into that a little later as far as Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz was concerned, because those are two people that dance very differently. And that fight ended up how I don't think anyone saw it going. Although on paper, I think we should have known how it was going to go on paper. Now that, of course, hindsight is 2020, when you're talking about the outcome of a fight and looking at the attributes of the fighters that's going into the fight, and now that you look back at it a day later or a couple days later, you're like, yeah, I could see that. But the hype and the build up towards the fight, and even the commentary of the fight itself, and a lot of people were picking Izzy to win the fight. Spoiler alert, if you can read between the lines on that statement. So, UFC 259, what are my thoughts? Well, the show as a whole, meaning early prelims, regular prelims, and main card, if I were judging it on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be a solid 7. And the reason that it doesn't get a higher score than 7 is because I'm not going to say the card was off balance, because I was hyped for this card. I was anticipating this card ever since it was announced. There is so much talent up and down this entire card. But the reason it stops at a 7 for me is because I don't think the main card, the pay-per-view card, lived up to all of the hype. And of course, that's going to be hard to do in a sport like MMA. It's not like wrestling where you build the hype for something and you could put choreographed spots in there to try and live up to the hype that you built. No, you can't do that. Mixed martial arts, this is a real dance. This is a real violent sport with real consequences. So you never really know what you're going to get. So of course, the UFC media machine, they can't predict how it's going to go either. So it's not their fault for hyping the fights the way that they did. But on paper, it looked like it was going to be a barn burner, for lack of a better phrase there. It looked like it was going to be a very great card up and down. But to me, the prelims outshine the main card. And I'm not going to say it was because of the matchups or the style of fighting. It's because most of the fights that fans remember, casuals anyway, they remember finishes. And it doesn't even have to be like a flash knockout or somebody get caught or something really violent, but it has to be a finish, something that is going to attract new fans or make current fans remember someone that they weren't particularly following. But the prelims, shit you not, the first 3 out of 4, I would say. First 3 out of 4 fights, they were finishes. And the card was flying by so damn quick, they had to plug in some filler to kill some time of the build-up between the main event fighters. What do they call that shit? Countdown. They had to use some UFC countdown footage to to fucking fill time because the fights were going by too fast. The prelims were magnificent. And I kind of liked the Dominic Cruz spot. I liked the spot he was in. I think he, of course, hindsight, once again, 2020, I think he picked the perfect spot. On free TV, ESPN, a lot of people got to see him perform in his drunken monkey style. It's like Dom is so unique in the way that he fights. I don't if you look at it, it's like, how is this guy winning? He's just bouncing up and down, moving around. His footwork's really awkward. He doesn't throw too many traditional strikes. He's like throwing these looping punches and these looping jabs, and he's dipping his head at weird angles while he does it. It's very strange, but people that aren't familiar with Dominic Cruz, it was great to see him on like the featured bout of the prelims versus Casey Kenny. And I think a bunch of that fight had to do with Casey Kenny in moments just being stuck and not knowing how to attack Dominic Cruz and his weird, quirky, offbeat, drunken monkey style. Another fight that was on the prelims that I thought was good was Kai Kara Francis fight. And he was getting dominated on the ground for most of that fight. And the commentary, they kept saying it was over. It's over because he was fighting off a rear naked choke. And it looked like, it looked like it was going to be done a lot. He had the hooks in. He was fighting for position, having a real uncomfortable looking neck crank position for a lot of that round. But the moment that he got back up, Kai France, that is, he stopped him. TKO punches. So the commentary, for me, I would like it if they would own up to when they say shit like that, because sometimes they be jumping the fucking gun. It's like, it looks like a fighter's gonna be tapped. He's gonna be submitted. So they're like, it's over. It's over. And the ref doesn't even stop it. He's still fighting. How are you just gonna say the man ain't got a chance to come back? How are you gonna say that? And then DC was the only person that said afterwards, like, yeah, I said he didn't have a chance, but, he came back and he won the fight. And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of very close fights on the prelims. It was a lot of finishes. But on the main card, and I feel sorry for new fans that saw the prelims and then was like, damn, that means the main card is going to be bonkers. This shit is going to be fireworks. I feel sorry for the new fans that were watching on ESPN and then got tempted due to all of the hype and the build-up to buy the pay-per-view, because to me, the pay-per-view wasn't worth it. The prelims were about a 9 out of 10. The pay-per-view was about a 6. And yeah, maybe a 5 out of 10. Because the opener of the pay-per-view, everybody thought was going to be a slugfest. Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. They just stood around taking pictures of each other. That was barely a fight. It was, no activity. And I think the commentators got that one right. It was nothing happening there. So if I was a person that fucking bought the pay-per-view and that was the first fight I saw after watching all that craziness that happened on the prelims, I'd be like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, it better get better. This shit better get better. Okay? Better be worth my money. And the next fight is Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. And everybody was excited for this fight, myself included. Islam is projected to be the next dangerous contender at 155 pounds. He's, of course, affiliated with Khabib and all those monsters over there at AKA. And what does he do? Oh, he just fucking takes him to the ground and just holds him there for 3 rounds, and then finally gets the finish in the 3rd round with shoulder pressure. Of course, for the novice, they don't know what the fuck is going on. They don't know why this person just tapped. They don't know that, Islam is just holding him there with his shoulder pressed up against his trachea and he can't breathe. But even Islam himself said after the fight, I wanted to showcase more of my striking, but fucking Drew Dober hit too hard. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to take him down. I'm going to take him down and hold him there. So once again, from the new fans' perspective, if I just watched all of the fucking carnage that happened on the prelims, now I'm 2 fights into this pay-per-view that I just paid a lot of money for. I just watched 2 fights on this, and so far I am not impressed. Kind of falling asleep. What the fuck? What the fuck? And now they're hyping the Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson fight, and for the novice, they're like, damn, this looks like it's going to be a good fight. Maybe they just don't know who Amanda Nunes is. Maybe. Because for everyone who's a seasoned UFC and mixed martial arts fan and follower, God bless Megan. God bless her. She didn't stand a fucking chance. I could have went to go pee during this fight. And then it would have been over and I would have been like, yeah, saw that coming. I'm not surprised by this at all. Megan. I don't know. I mean, it's Megan. M-E-G-A-N. Come on now. Come on. Have a sit down with your parents. They're trying to be fancy. Megan. Fucking Megan. So now you're 3 fights in. You saw 2 kind of boring, slow-paced fights. And then you see Amanda Nunes just embarrass the fuck out of Megan. Just now I'm like, okay. Maybe I got a little bit of my money for that, but that's not even a fight. You're paying to watch fights here. Okay. So now a sleeper fight of the night possibly could have been, even though, they're not household names. Everybody that follows MMA knows who Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan are. So everybody was looking forward to this one. This one is going to be bananas, right? Wrong. Fucking wrong. I mean, the first round was crazy. Don't get me wrong. That first round was ridiculous. The pace that they set. Even part of the second round, the pace that they were going on this fight. Both of them in tremendous shape. You could tell that. But by the middle portion of the second round, you could kind of see the tide was turning. And the third round, it was evident. Aljo was just burnt out. And Petr was just calm, composed, not overextending himself, not doing too many big explosive movements. And Aljo he was pressuring him still, but you could tell there wasn't the same steam on his shots. There wasn't the same pop on his strikes or the same explosiveness in his takedown attempts. And I think he emptied his gas tank in the first round and a half. So by the time rounds 3 and 4 came around, the tide had completely turned, and Petr Yan was convincingly winning that fight. When they read the scorecards after that, the commentators and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people that follow the sport were surprised that Aljo was winning on one judge's scorecard, because he was not winning that fight. Just listen to the commentators back and watch the fight back. He was not winning that fight. But it doesn't matter, because we don't get a clear winner anyway. Petr Yan kneed him in the head when he was down. He kneed him in the head. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? It's clearly illegal. And Aljo, now that I watched it again, I could tell that it was a hard knee, but I may be wrong. But watching it again, it looked like he wanted to get out of there. He was very tired. At the end of that fourth round, it was maybe about 31 seconds left in that fourth round when he took the knee. He was tired as fuck. Tired. He was taking deep breaths. He wanted to get out of there. And I think that knee gave him the perfect opportunity. It's a win-win. You get to get out of there, and you get to get out of there with the belt, and you know they're going to run it back, so you come in as champion and you get PPV points. You get championship wage. So he took the easy way out. And another piece of evidence towards that is, if he's so concussed, why interview him? He seemed to know where he was at that moment. I've seen football players get concussed, and I've seen fighters get concussed. And no way, no how are they going to have that sort of recall that quickly after it just happened, So, and it's a good business decision, a good personal decision, but he was losing that fight. And when they run it back, because they have to, he has to fix that cardio. Well, I don't think his cardio is a problem. I just think he was just so he was so over eager, so over anxious to want to take the title and win the fight. And when Yan didn't fold like he wanted to, he had already emptied his gas tank. So I don't think the cardio is the issue. I think the jitters were the issue. I think pacing was an issue. He just went all out too quickly. So just, pace yourself over a 5-round fight. He'll have a better chance. But if he shows up like he did in this fight, he's going to lose. He's going to lose again, because Petr Yan is extremely patient and a very technical, smart fighter. He knows how to conserve his energy. He knows what spots to pick. And that's really what separates a lot of people in a lot of different weight classes, levels, right? Because sometimes you're relying on, your technique, and you're relying on your skill, and you're relying on your physical gifts, when what takes you to the next level is knowing when to strike, knowing how to conserve your energy. That's like championship mindset shit. So hopefully they run that one back. And if I'm wrong, if he truly was concussed, quick recovery for Aljo. But from what I saw looking at it again, it looks like him and Meryl Streep, they're in the same industry. So finally, we make our way to the main event. And if I'm the new customer, after being well removed from those great prelims now, I'm deep into the pay-per-view, and I'm still not quite feeling like I earned my money. But as true with WWE and pro wrestling is also true in mixed martial arts. You judge an event mostly by its main event. If the card in itself, the main card in this occasion, if the card in itself is bad or mediocre, it could be saved by a great main event. I've seen that happen tons of times. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those times. It was a very slow, technical fight. I personally didn't mind it. I liked to see the chess match that was going on between Izzy and Jan. I didn't mind it. Would I have liked to see a little quicker pace? Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't? But the feints and the timing and the distance management that was going on there, and Jan was extremely patient in this fight, which, you know, a lot of people didn't see coming. But in hindsight, maybe you should have, seeing Izzy's last performance. I'm pretty sure he watched the tape of Izzy versus Paulo Costa, and he saw what happened when you leap in like that, when you're over eager versus Izzy. Izzy is a great counter striker. He knows how to move his body in a certain way. He knows how to get out the way, cut the angles. He has this weird thing where he bends back and he throws those looping hooks. So Jan's not a dumb guy. He knew he couldn't do that rush in shit, and he knew his best chance were to pick his shots a little bit more selectively. So that led the fight to be a little slower pace. They picked it up in the third and the fourth. It was a little quicker pace, a little bit more action on the stand-up side of things, but still very technical. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing if I'm a new fan, you know? It was just one of those fights where it's great for the person who's a seasoned fan to watch because you're fascinated with the approach and you want to see what happens. And there's always a room for someone to land a huge shot and then you get slept. So it's like a slow burn kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know, I love those type of fights, but we didn't have one of those oh moments for this one. It was just a technical fight. And then Jan did what a lot of people were thinking that a lot of other competitors versus Izzy would have done, but Jan had success doing it, and that is land takedowns. Earlier on, Izzy had success getting up, but you could tell he was way too tired and Jan was way too heavy for him to get up in the fourth and the fifth. And Jan got the decision win, and a lot of people didn't pick him to win this fight, especially by decision. Everyone was saying if it goes to a decision, it's going to be Izzy. If it goes, you know, if it's a finish, it's going to be Jan. But in this fucking sport, man, you never know. You never know. So all in all, you have 5 fights on the main card, and what do you have? You have 3 very slow-paced fights. The main event being a more technical affair, fascinating, but still slow pace. So 3 very slow paced fights. 1 extreme mismatch that didn't last but a fuck cup of coffee. And then you have a non-finish. Now, if WWE were to book something like this, it would be a disaster. Like it wouldn't go over well with the fans. But us as mixed martial arts fans, we know that that's just how it goes sometimes. That comes with the territory when you're watching such an unpredictable sport. Anybody can get it on any day of the fucking week. That's just how it is. But speaking of things being how they are, the card itself, sorry, just wasn't that good aesthetically. If you want to attract new fans, that didn't do it either. But hopefully a lot of fans did watch the prelims, and we got them that way. Because I always want to create new mixed martial arts fans. I love talking about this shit. I love analyzing this shit. I love most of the fighters. I used to have favorites. Now I just kind of enjoy watching the fights because all of the idols I've had growing up, they're kind of retired now, and the last of them are gone. So I have fighters that I like more than others because of the way that they conduct themselves or maybe their fighting styles. But you can't be attached to these fighters when they're going into that cage. You can't be invested too much because anybody can get it. Motherfuckers get slept. People get, upset. So unless you're fucking Amanda Nunes, like if you're a fan of Amanda Nunes, you're good. You're good for forever. She's not going to lose anytime soon. So yeah, that's my analysis of UFC 259. Scale from 1 to 10. It is a 7 pay-per-view or a 7 card as a whole. And I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see that Aljo and Petr Yan rematch, see where that goes in the bantamweight division. The bantamweight division is stacked as fuck now. It seems like that just happened out of nowhere. Can't wait to see what they do with Islam Makhachev. I think the Tony Ferguson fight that he was calling for, I don't want to see that right now because Tony Ferguson, he needs a win. And I don't think the style of Islam is something that's going to produce a win for Tony. And Tony's up in age. He's probably not going to have another run for the title like he did before. So I don't like that matchup. I want to see Islam go up against another young contender that'll give him a tougher shot. Because you saw what happened with Charles Oliveira versus Tony Ferguson. And I think Islam is just going to do pretty much the same. Yeah, good card. But pay-per-view, not so much. Anyway, I have to go and pick up my dry cleaning. So, till the next time, remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And comment, comment arts for Mel Streep old ass if you're listening to this at the moment. But I got to go pick up some dry cleaning and I'll be right back. I promise. I will be right back. Bye.